Actually quite warm in San Diego this afternoon, much warmer than you'd expected. The temperature hovering close to 90 degrees. We're downtown at Petco Park. Always good to be here. And the Rockies opening up a 4-game set against the Padres. It is a 4-game set again because of that rain out on July 19th here, which happens about once a decade. In fact, they haven't had a speck of rain since then. Charlie Blackmon's going to lead things off for the Rockies as Colorado tries to win for the first time in San Diego all year long. Just 3-9 against the Padres thus far. Here's the Southwest batting order for Walt this afternoon. Book your look right now at southwest.com. DJ LeMahieu batting .317. DJ was off yesterday. He's going to be in there at second base naturally. Nolan Arenado will bat third. Justin Morneau will bat cleanup. Cargo's getting the day this afternoon, at least initially. Kyle Parker will bat fifth. Daniel Descalso for Jose Reyes. Brandon Barnes. Dustin Garneau has to catch again because Nick Hundley's neck remains pretty stiff, and he remains in a day-to-day situation. In fact, and we hope this doesn't happen, obviously, for Dustin's standpoint, but if he were to go down, Willeen Rosario would go in behind the plate today, not Nick Hundley. Ian Kennedy has had a lot of great moments in Major League Baseball, including that 21 victory season a few years back for Arizona, and he's always, as you alluded to, seemed to perform well against Colorado.
He is, and he's not afraid to pitch inside. I think that's part of the thing that has allowed him to be so successful against the Colorado Rockies. Looking at these numbers, most of his numbers have started to turn around in the second half. They call it the salary push.
You're right. In the second half, he's got a 2.35 ERA. That gets your attention.
It does, and that's the 8th best in baseball since the second half. And over his career, 41-21 in the second half. So he is a second half type pitcher.
I've always admired him because he's a very aggressive guy. He knows what he wants to do, and he goes out and executes a game plan. He's ahead right now 1-2, and there's the illustration again of what Spilly was talking about. 41-21 in the second half. Much better second half numbers. He's kind of like his right fielder, Matt Kemp. Matt Kemp traditionally puts up better second half numbers.
Well, for Ian Kennedy, I think what has allowed him to be so much better in the second half is that he's not walking anybody. He is challenging many more hitters with his fastball. Fastball velocity is up versus his very first years in the big leagues. His changeup has always been the plus pitch. So look forward to that today. Just keep an eye on the fastball changeup combo.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Charlie. That fastball is high at 91. Chuck Nasty's playing today in his 136th game. This is the Rockies' 137th. I'll do the math for you, Spilly. It's only one game he hasn't participated in. And the 136 games leads the National League. Fouled off again.
Still makes me laugh. What was it, 2 weeks ago? Mark Stout interviewed him in Washington, asking him how he felt. He's like, I don't feel good. I'm tired.
Well, actually, Mark kind of made a statement. It was funny. Mark said, it looks like you feel pretty good. He goes, I don't feel good. I feel terrible. He goes, I've been doing this for 6 months. And this ball's ripped to right, and it is a fair ball. Kisses off the wall, and Blackmon easily into second with a leadoff double.
That is a good at bat, starting off 1-2 count, just kind of fighting off some pitches. He even fouled a fastball off of his handle of the bat, and that's a good start for the Colorado Rockies, needing to kind of get on the board. Yesterday we saw with Madison Bumgarner, if you get some traffic off of them early, off the starting pitcher, you got to score. There's a hanging curveball. Charlie was just able to pull his hands inside. I thought the way that the ball hit off the wall that maybe he'd get a chance for a triple, hitting off that Bank of America sign, but Matt Kemp got to the ball pretty quick.
Let me ask you a question, a base running question. Why do guys, here's DJ, who's perfect in this situation for moving a guy along because everything he hits virtually is to the right side. Pick up the question after this pitch. Why do guys, when the ball is behind them on extra bases, you're taught now to pick up the third base coach, why are they peeking over their shoulder, which slows them down? I'm not trying to pick on Charlie, but I've seen a number of guys do this.
I have no idea. I've always been taught as soon as it's behind you, you look at the third base coach. Third base coach will let you know.
Now in left center field, it's on the base runner. This ball's well hit to Kemp in right, really well hit, and Matt leaps, can't get it. This is off the wall. Charlie had to wait, tag, and now he'll come around and score. And DJ's going to end up at third. What a wonderful start for the Rockies. Double, triple, 1-0. This ball within, what, a couple of feet of going out in that little nook down the right field line. You knew DJ was going to hit the ball the right side.
There's no doubt. That's where he's going to hit the ball. He's looking for a baseball out away from him to hit the ball to the right field. But what's impressive, a couple of years ago, that ball's probably caught. And this is the new part of the outfield that they've added the seats, the Jack Daniels whiskey seats out there. And that's where it hits. It hits right off this corner. And then Will Myers in center field, running right past it again.
Here's Nolan. He gets a curveball on the outer edge for a strike. It's 0-1. So Nolan somehow talked his way in the lineup this afternoon with Wald after the disaster yesterday of not hitting a home run.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And this ball in shallow right. And DJ may come down the line. He came down about a third of the way because the ball was caught by Spangenberg kind of heading toward the seats. I'm trying to remember who it was with the Rockies a few years ago who tagged on a catch that was similar to that because all the momentum of the fielder was heading in the wrong direction. He had to turn and fire.
It was probably knowing Michael. Michael would always run on stuff like that.
So Nolan disappointed. Missed an opportunity to drive in his 106th run. And now with one out, the infield will come in for Morneau.
And the Rockies have missed a lot of opportunities at Petco Park this year with runners in scoring position.
Well, this will get it done. Base hit to right. And here comes DJ. The throw's still going to go to the plate. And now Morneau may have gotten caught up. And this throw goes off of. Trying to think, was that Norris closing again? I think it was Derek Norris, and that was reminiscent for Padre fans of yesterday.
Well, the ball yesterday that we're talking about, bases loaded, 2 outs, a ground ball by Andre Ethier to the pitcher, and he threw it over Derek Norris's head. So Matt Kemp gets the ball on a hop because DJ's having to tag at third. Thought he might have a chance at it, and then the whole defense just fell apart. Well, the Rockies now are 3 for 34 with runners in scoring position at Petco this season.
And a quick start again. They got 2 in the first yesterday against Madison Bumgarner. They have 2 right now. There's just 1 out. You have another runner in scoring position after the error on Austin Hedges, the catcher. Kyle Parker's at the plate with a 1-0 count. Kyle trying to snap out of a protracted slump. He's 1 for his last 27 at the dish.
And not to put extra pressure on Kyle, but I think this start for him is very important moving forward for the rest of the season to see how many more at-bats he'll get.
That catches the corner.
And the reason why
1 and 2.
The reason why I say that is Corey Dickerson's getting close to returning. Ben Paulson has been showing he deserves more and more at bats. Brandon Barnes has been playing very well. So if you're Kyle Parker, you're kind of on the outside looking in, trying to get these at bats.
Well, now with Morneau playing first, swung on and missed, and Kyle goes down, 2 outs. Paulson's gotten some reps in left field, so now it crowds that spot even more. Daniel Descalso will come up. Here the Padres defensively, and they've taken probably not 1 but 2 or 3 steps back from a year ago. Defensive runs saved this year, they're in the bottom third of the league, 24th. As we look at Myers is back at center field, but Jed Jerko starting at shortstop. And not to pick on Jerko, I mean, he's game and he's been getting the uniform dirty at short, but he doesn't have much range. He came up as a third baseman, was flipped over to second where he has limited range, and now he's playing short. It was one of the, and I admire what A.J. Preller did. I mean, he went out and made a ton of moves, and he really tried to upgrade the offense considerably. But one area that everybody looked from the outside upon was the defense up the middle with some question marks. And initially it was Amariste at short and Jerko at second. Derek Norris behind the plate. And they have struggled, to be honest. There's no other way to put it. They have really struggled defensively and in some key spots.
Well, and Dick Enberg came in, we were talking baseball, and we were talking about Jerko playing shortstop. And a comment he said, it's not that big of a deal when they do the shift. And the Padres do the shift a lot, especially on the left side of the field for right-handed batters. We'll probably see it today against Nolan. So there's not a lot for him to cover when they do the aggravated shift on the left side of the field. You have 3 guys on the left side. But we know how important defense up the middle is.
Kennedy comes back and he strikes out Parker and Descalso to end the inning, but damage done. Double and a triple to begin. Blackman and LeMahieu, and then a single by Morneau. 2-0 start for Kyle Kendrick. Spilly and I are headed after the ball game. Spilly's yacht that he keeps out here in the marina in San Diego. Will Myers is back and healthy again. He's missed a large portion of the season with left wrist tendonitis. Here's the Southwest batting order for Pat Murphy this afternoon. Yannervis Solarte, who has been very, very solid for them, he'll bat second. Then Matt Kemp, Justin Upton, Jed Jerko, 3, 4, and 5. Derek Norris has been productive this year against the Rockies in particular. Corey Spangenberg, a guy who can really run. He'll bat 7th. Austin Hedges will bat 8th, and then Kennedy. So Kyle Kendrick looking for his first victory since July 26th. It's in his second start back since coming off the disabled list, and that fastball's in there for a strike.
Well, you can look at Kendrick's numbers, 4-12 this season with the 6.29 ERA. Right before he went on the disabled list, he was starting to do different things in the windup, changing the timing, pitching faster. And it worked for him with nobody on. 281 batting average against Kyle Kendrick, but once he gets runners on, 341. So it'll be interesting to watch today as he has come off the disabled list to see how he is disrupting hitters' timing with the windup mechanics that he has been using.
Quickly ahead of Myers, 2 strikes. Garneau wants to bury it. Looks like a breaking ball, and it goes to a curveball. He doesn't throw that frequently. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Tell you what, I feel for Will Myers. This is a kid with as much talent as any young player in baseball. Celebrated trade that sent him from Kansas City for James Shields to Tampa. He has never been able to stay healthy.
The other day he came off the disabled list and he has been dealing with a lot of wrist injuries, and the guys were laughing that first thing he does, he steals second base and dives into second head first. Ball gets past the infielder and he dives into third head first and rolls his wrist again.
One of those guys has to be careful getting out of the shower in the morning. 2-2, good pitch. See you later. 89 right on the black, and Myers is gone. That'll bring up Solarte. The last start for Kendrick. Kyle did some good things.
He did do some good things. 4 innings pitched, the 3 hits. He was working both sides of the plate, which is what you want to see with a sinker baller. Using his changeup effectively. You've already mentioned you don't get to see the curveball too often. Still gave up 1 home. It's been the issue for him.
Well, it's been the issue for Kendrick. It's been the issue for the guy he's working against this afternoon, Ian Kennedy. Both of those guys have given up a lot of home runs. And honestly, we in the past, and you played here a bunch, Billy, we would never have said this. The temperature today is 87 degrees, which, folks, by San Diego standards, is really, really hot. It's a day game. The ball always has traveled better here during the day, coupled with the new environment, if you will, here with the Jumbotron and some of the wind currents that used to prevent balls from going out. I would not be surprised to see some home runs today.
Well, and DJ already showed a ball hit opposite field, hit off the wall. You can see there's a new building out there. There's a blue Sempra Energy building that has just been built, and they're saying that that building with the large American flag flying from it has also stopped some of the wind flow from blowing left to right at Petco Park.
Architecturally, though, Billy, it's a beautiful building.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous building.
But they should blow it up.
They're going to take it down there after the season because it's affecting them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You going to help fund that?
No, I can't afford that.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Solarte, riding a 7-game hitting streak. Last time we saw the Padres in the absence of Myers, he was hitting atop the lineup, which, again, there's so many pieces that don't necessarily fit because Solarte, it's not a knock on Solarte, he's not a leadoff hitter. He doesn't run well at all. He's a below-average runner.
And he doesn't take a lot of pitches. He's a guy that's going to be swinging. He's a free swinger. I played with the guy in 2012 in the minor leagues, and doesn't walk a lot, doesn't strike out a lot.
3-2. This is line to right, and Barnes will have to field it off the wall. And Solarte into second with a double. 8-game hitting streak for Jan Hervis. We have not looked at the alignment defensively for the Rockies. We will do that right now. Again, Cargo's taking the first part of the day off. Kyle Parker's in left, Brandon Barnes in right, Charlie's in the middle. Arenado and Descalso on the left side, DJ LeMahieu, Justin Morneau on the right side, and Dustin Garneau is doing the catching. He had to come in the ball game yesterday afternoon when Nick Hundley's neck tightened up. So here's Matt Kemp, and he has been hunting RBIs in a big way in the second half. He's got 89 RBIs, so he's among the league leaders. Of course, that category led by Nolan. And this ball's ripped to left, and it is gone. Right down the line, a 2-run home run by Matt Kemp has tied it up in the bottom of the first. And yet another home run allowed, unfortunately, for Kyle Kendrick. That is the 28th home run he's allowed this year in 117 innings.
Matt Kemp being very aggressive. First pitch swinging, gets a ball. It's up, it's elevated. Matt Kemp hunting fastball, especially early in the count. When you're hitting third with the runner on second base in those run-scoring situations, you're looking for a fastball you can handle. He did not miss that pitch.
Here's Justin Upton. And Upton takes a strike. Upton has good numbers as well against Kyle Kendrick. That was a topspin line drive that just got over the wall in that left field corner, but obviously it was hit hard. And another strike, 0-2 on Upton. Here's something odd that speaks to how much this ballpark has kind of changed this year. Upton has 24 home runs. 15, as you saw on that graphic, have come at home. And this year, there's 2.07 home runs per game. That's a combined thing, home and road team, which is 5th in the National League. 2014, there was 1.25 home runs hit per game, which was the fewest in Major League Baseball. So it's gone from the hardest park, strike 3 on Upton, he never moved the bat. It's gone, Spilly, from the hardest park to hit a home run, which was kind of the deal year in and year out.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden, it's a home run paradise. What's going on?
They moved the fences in. It's been moved in 3 different times. We were joking today. We were talking about Ryan Klesko. Ryan Klesko, great hitter with the Braves, signed as a free agent with the Padres right when they opened up this new ballpark. And during the first batting practice, he's hitting balls that are landing on the warning track. And somebody teased him, good thing I didn't park my car on the warning track.
Popped up, and this is a tough one with that sun. And DJ makes the catch. Jed Jerko's retired. Well, the Padres have tied it up on a 2-run home run by that man, Matt Kemp. Barnes will lead it off in the second.
Drew mentioned it earlier today. Nick Hundley not in the starting lineup for the San Diego Padres. Dustin Garneau is doing the catching and will remain as the starting catcher for this team until Nick Hundley is okay. He hurt his neck yesterday in his second at bat. He had to leave the game with that neck stiffness that he really couldn't move side to side. So for Nick today, he was in a lot of treatment. We got the chance to talk to Walt Weiss earlier, and he said that was something that he was expecting. He would have to leave Nick Hundley off of the lineup card.
Yeah, I knew he was going to be down today. He's pretty sore. You know, hopefully he'll be ready to go again tomorrow. But you know, we'll have to see. Like I said, he's a little sore. So we got Willeen that can run back there, you know, and protect us. So I feel like we're covered. But Nick will be day to day.
So Willeen hasn't caught a game all year, whether at AAA or with the big league squad, but he is available if something were to happen to Dustin Garneau today. As for Nick Hundley, I caught him right before the game. I mentioned he's been in treatment all afternoon. He just kind of gave me a thumbs down right now on his neck and the way that it's feeling. So not sure from his mouth the exact words of the pain that he's feeling, but enough to be out of the starting lineup for the time being. And for Nick, it's really a bummer because against his former team in the San Diego Padres, guys, he hits .448. He's had 2 triples and a home run this year, so you know he's anxious to get back in the starting lineup as soon as he can.
Well, Jenny, as you know, he makes his home out here year-round, and he wants to play against the Padres, and Nick is a tough guy.
He doesn't make his home here.
perhaps I misspoke. He has made his home here, but Nick wants to play well against his former club, as Jenny was pointing out. And if Nick can't go, he's one of those tough guys. He doesn't beg out of the lineup. So hopefully he's better tomorrow. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 2-2 now as Garneau with 1 out. He's put together good at bats when we've seen him.
He has. He's known more for being able to catch. And I think with most catchers, catch and throw is your main focus, but give quality at bats. I don't want you to tear the cover off the ball. You don't have to. Not with this lineup. Just give quality at bats, call a good game. And I think so far in the starts that he's had, he's proven that. And he had a heck of a year in AAA Albuquerque this year. 274 batting average with 15 homers, 61. So he's no slouch at the plate.
On the corner, a called strike 3. That's the 3rd strikeout for Ian Kennedy, and that'll bring up Kendrick.
So far, both pitchers have been using that outside portion of the plate, and Ian Kennedy does have a little run on his fastball when he throws it outside. That's a well-located fastball, starts it off the plate, lets it run back.
And a quick strike on Kyle. Rockies just completed an 8-game homestand, 8 games in 7 days. They went 4-4 after dropping the last 2 to the Giants. Padres lost 3 of 4 to the Dodgers, including 5-1 yesterday. Dodgers began the day with a 7.5 game lead on the Giants out west. And it's a quick inning for Kennedy as Hedges catches the foul pop-up. Middle of 2. It is a 2-2 game, a 9-pitch inning for Ian Kennedy. You buy your hometown Toyota stores. Let's go places. And by Southwest Airlines, book your low fare now at southwest.com. Perfect afternoon on this Labor Day. It's San Diego, Rockies and Padres, first of 4. Then the Rockies are off to Seattle. This is a long road trip, a 10-game road trip. They will continue after Seattle in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. Attendance is way up this year at Petco with all the moves made in the offseason. Padres fans bought in, and their attendance is up to 31,168 on average, which is an improvement of more than 3,600 folks a night. But it's going to fall short of what their March expectations were with all of the moves of A.J. Preller. Just goes to show you that, and again, I applaud A.J. and all that he did. It's very easy to Monday morning quarterback anything, and I'm certainly not going to do that. But it shows you again, Spilly, that especially in the game of baseball, really in all sports, it's won and lost out on the field. It's not won and lost on a sheet of paper.
You still have to play the season, and I totally get what A.J. Preller was trying to do. Trying to add offense. Last year, the Padres were on a historic run. They almost had the worst batting average as a team in the history of baseball. Go out this year and they added Derek Norris, Matt Kemp, with Justin Upton, the Will Myers, and even a Will Middlebrooks, who's been sent down in the minor leagues. You go and do that for offense, but you sacrifice the defense. And as a result, starting pitching has suffered, and the team is, yes, they've won more games this year than last year, but they're still not in a better spot than they were a year ago.
Well, not yet. I mean, last year they went 77 and 85. They're at 65 and 72 right now. So we'll see how it plays out. It could be very similar. There's Melvin Upton Jr., Jet Jerko to his right. 1-2 on Derek Norris leading off here in the second. And Norris fouls his pitch off. Join in on the conversation. Send us your thoughts and photos. Use Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Make sure you include the hashtag Toyota Talk.
So far, Kyle Kendrick in the windup has not done the sped up pitching mechanics that we saw in late July when he was starting to do it. I think he saw Johnny Cueto throw a great game when he was with the Reds and then tried it his next start, and we haven't really seen it yet today.
Garneau went through the entire repertoire before arriving at it looked like a changeup in the dirt. That's probably a splitter. Kendrick throws a split finger quite a bit. 3-2. Settle on a fastball away. 3-2 on Norris leading off in the bottom of the second in a 2-2 game, and a swing and a miss. So a strikeout, the third for Kendrick. That'll bring up Corey Spangenberg.
Well, I always notice when pitchers come and pitch at Petco Park that the ball will run a little bit more, and I think Kyle Kendrick's starting to get the bearings on how far outside of the plate he can start his fastball and let it run back. I think we've already seen with Ian Kennedy on the strikeout to Garneau that the ball, with the humidity at sea level, the ball is running back pretty good.
Corey Spangenberg takes a strike, playing second base right now. When the Rockies saw him earlier in the year, he was getting time at third base. Whether he plays second or third, one thing he can really do is run. This kid is lightning fast. Good numbers against the Rockies this year. Curveballs on the outside corner, 0-2.
Spangenberg went on the disabled list earlier this year because of a left knee contusion. So when you're counting on the legs, and I always think back to Willie Taveras, if he didn't have his legs at 100%, he wasn't the same player.
There's usually, Spilly, when you were coming up through the minor leagues, there's usually at least one tool that has to be a big league tool to give you a chance to get here.
You would think. You either can hit really well, or you have, if you're an offensive player, you play great defense. You have a great arm. I mean, typically a great arm defensive player is really good for as a catcher. But speed is probably the one that most guys would love to have, besides power. I think if you ask anybody, would you rather have 30 home run power or 40 stolen base speed? Most guys would take 30 home run power.
If they were smart.
Yeah.
Goes back to that Ralph Kiner line. Home run hitters drive Cadillacs, right?
That's right. Well, Vinny Castilla said it a couple days ago when we were talking to him. I was like, what do you think about sack bunts? He said, you ever see a guy that sack bunts a lot drive a nice car?
Vinny's the best. Vinny would say home run hitters drive Lambos. 2-2 on Spangenberg. Good pitch, man. He had that two-seamer, that hip side two-seamer, and he had a lot of movement on it. That's the third strikeout. That's a backward K for Kyle Kendrick here in the early going.
Well, this is the prototypical hip shot. You start it at the left-hand hitter's hip. It'll force him to pull out and then let the ball run back in over the plate. It's a great pitch. Aaron Cook used to throw that pitch all the time, and there's a guy, Ross Glode. He was with the Philadelphia Phillies, left-handed pinch hitter. And Ross Glode owned Aaron Cook, and a lot of guys are saying, how do you hit Aaron Cook? And he said, if he throws the ball at me, I swing because I know the ball will come back and it runs into my barrel.
There's a name from the past, Ross Glode. He could pinch hit. He's one of the better pinch hitters in the game for a while. Here's the 0-1. Ross Glode was from I assume he still is. He's from East Hampton, Long Island. Now, I don't know how many guys are coming out of the Hamptons not named like F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah. Just wonderful writers. Well, Ross Glode, I believe, started his career as a Colorado Rocky.
Yeah. I feel like Billy Joel hangs out. Got to have some cake to live in the Hamptons. This is going to be a base hit. You know who else is from the Hamptons?
Who?
Hall of Fame baseball player.
What
Boston
era?
Red Sox.
Okay.
60s.
Carl Yastrzemski?
Yaz.
Really?
Yaz,
Yaz was from.
Yaz was way out on the island. Yep. So Hedges with a base hit in front of Ian Kennedy with 2 outs. Who wants tacos? When the Rockies score 7+, go to participating Colorado Taco Bell locations the following day between 4 and 6. Get your Rockies taco special. Liv Moss at Taco Bell.
That was the most East Coast name I could think of off the top of my head. And if you would have said any other time frame, I probably would have guessed Brian Doback.
Brian Doback. He played for the Pirates. Big catcher, right?
No, he was a first baseman with Boston Red Sox.
All right. This isn't good when the pitcher is hard sinker. Watch what happens with Kennedy. He's going to foul it off his right foot, which is his push foot on the mound. You nailed it, by the way, on Cookie. Dougie did the quick matchup.
Yep, 7 for 9, Ross Glode against Aaron Cook. I'm telling you, hip shot, he'd throw it right there and swing. And if I'm a pitcher right now and that's my counterpart, I'm not giving him time to run off the hot foot. Standing on the mound and going after him.
Yeah, I'm going to go two-seamer again, and this one's a strike, 0-2. Ian Kennedy pretty much knows what he's going to get.
He's going to get a fastball inside that's going to sink, and hopefully he hits it off his left foot.
Actually, Glode came up with the Cubs, was with the Rockies in 0-2. Kennedy famously went to high school with Ian Stewart north of here in Orange County. Then he played for Latch's favorite team, huh?
He was a Trojan. Yep. Ian Stewart wanted to go to USC too, and Ian Stewart, even though he signed out of high school, would always walk around with his USC Trojan garb.
Well, Nolan Arenado's a huge Trojan fan. Nolan signed with Arizona State, Pat Murphy, to play baseball. But he remains a huge USC football fan. Good solid inning for Kendrick. Hedges had the lone base hit. We'll go to the third, 2-2.
nozzle with a quarter-mile long swath of retardant along the edge of the fire. So our ground counterparts can then tackle that from the ground.
Well, our thanks to Peterson Air Force Base and all the men and women that serve there on this Labor Day. They are working hard. The 302nd Airlift Wing Division that's based there in Colorado Springs has been helping fight fires locally in Colorado and even here in California as they're dealing with the drought and some fires here. So Labor Day is not a day off for everybody, and our special thanks to those that serve. I am at the Western Metal Building, by the way, Drew and Spilly. This is a lovely historic building here at Petco Park, part of the great scenics that we have here. And on this hot day, I can't wait to throw it back to you and go into that air-conditioned building.
We need to keep asking questions and keep her out there then.
Oh, you guys are breaking up. It's time for me to go.
No, we're obviously not breaking up because you heard Spilly perfectly right there.
I did, I know.
Yes. That's it. I'm really glad that when they built this stadium, they incorporated the Western Metal Supply Company into the design of the entire ballpark. It's really unique, and I think for anybody that comes and visits, it's one of the things they probably think most about in terms of memories of this park. It's kind of neat. And then the fact that you have 3 overhangs, 3 big decks in which to hang out. Actually 4, because you include the rooftop out there.
I used to love taking batting practice here and trying to hit it up there.
Did you ever?
I could get it up.
Did you get to? You got it to the 3rd deck, right?
I could get 3rd deck. I could throw the baseball to the 3rd deck, but on top, Matt Holliday would go up there all the time.
To the Toyota Landing.
Yeah,
up there?
it wasn't Toyota Landing. They changed the name, but yeah, guys, the only guy I've seen get it up there consistently was Matt Holliday, and a fan with the great grab for a foul ball.
Matt Holliday used to hit it off the Marriott Hotel,
Yep.
which sits about a quarter of a mile behind that too.
Yeah,
didn't
every
he?
day. Yeah, every day.
Charlie leading things off here in the 3rd. Charlie a double to begin the ball game to right. That was followed up by DJ LeMahieu's triple, and the Rockies had a quick run. Justin Morneau would eventually single in LeMahieu to make it 2-0. Then Matt Kemp hit a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 1st. 0-2. And another base hit. Charlie just kind of served that to center field. He was out on his front side a little bit. Good piece of hitting. And Blackmon's 2 for 2. Time for the big hit presented by Mako. Turn the car you drive into the car you love. There's the walk-off base hit, Ben Paulson against Matt Reynolds a week ago. Ben looked like he was just trying to stay upright in the celebration after.
Well, that was an at-bat where the first 2 pitches Matt Reynolds threw him, he blew fastballs right by him. And it was a 2-strike fastball that he got on top of. It was a great at-bat.
Charlie Blackmon, 36 stolen bases. 3rd in the National League in that department. 3rd in baseball, in fact. If he were in the American League, he'd be tied with Jose Altuve for the top spot in the AL.
I always remember Ian Kennedy being very difficult to get good jumps off of because he is a very good athlete. He's very quick when he throws the ball to first base, but more importantly, when you're watching a pitcher from the setup position, you look to see if he holds the ball in his hand or in his glove. And Ian Kennedy holds the ball in his hand, so you can't get that big lead where you can look into the catcher's glove. So a guy, if you would, as you see right now, Ian Kennedy's placing the ball, he's putting the changeup grip, it's in his hand. So Charlie Blackmon's not able to get the full-on lead because the ball's already in Kennedy's hand. He could do a quick throw to first.
Outside on LeMahieu, it's 2-0. 52nd RBI for DJ, that triple that he produced in the first.
So you can see Ian Kennedy with the ball in his hand. Can't get the big lead that Charlie typically likes to get. You can see the quick throw. Kennedy is quick.
Yeah, he threw him the C move initially and then speeds it up right there.
Charlie was leaning. You would guess that with the preset grip, the changeup, it's going to be harder to throw to first, but right when he goes to his set, he can change to the 2-seam or 4-seam.
Blackman takes off, and it is fouled off.
The world's best barbecue competition teams will be at Coors Field Saturday, September 19th. Purchase the barbecue ticket package to vote for the Fans' Choice Award. Sample some incredible barbecue and visit with award-winning cook teams.
Two and one on DJ. .324 lifetime hitter against the Padres. Hit well against San Francisco also in his career. Charlie not going, and curveball is swung on and missed. 2-2. DJ came into the game 6th in the National League in hitting.
Well, I'm surprised with Charlie Blackman showing he's wanting to steal that Ian Kennedy has already thrown a changeup and a 2-1 curveball, but that just goes to show that Ian Kennedy's not afraid to throw any pitch at any count. I'm sure DJ was thinking the same thing. You have a base runner at first that's trying to steal. He's got 36 stolen bases. Looking for fastball, especially in 2-0 and 2-1 counts. Go off speed again.
Line shot, base hit. Past a diving Corey Spangenberg. And these two have clicked again here in the third against Ian Kennedy. Rockies have 5 hits. Blackman and LeMahieu, that law firm, has 4 of them.
Are they bankruptcy or what kind of law?
I'm not sure. I have to dig a little deeper into exactly the kind of law they're practicing. I'll let you know.
Spangenberg almost catching this baseball. That's a good piece of hitting by DJ LeMahieu, sitting back on the changeup. That is Ian Kennedy's best secondary pitch, and 3 straight off-speed pitches to DJ caught me off guard. I'm sure it caught DJ off guard those first 2 swings, but right there it didn't fool him.
Another chance to do damage for Arenado. He fouled out to second, to the second baseman. It's Corey Spangenberger's first time up. He was still talking this morning in the clubhouse about his lost bat. The bat he broke yesterday on the fly ball to left field is the bat he hit all the home runs with the last 6 days. This ball's ripped to left center field. I guess he's found a new one that he likes. Takes one hop and goes over the wall. That's going to cost him an RBI. LeMahieu's going to have to go back to third. He would have scored easily on another Nolan Arenado double, his 34th double of the year, and the Rockies retake the lead 3-2.
Nolan getting beaten the first at bat. Here's a fastball away from him. Ian Kennedy loves to throw the fastball in. Gets a pitch out away from Nolan, and Nolan with all that leg torque. You can see he is driving straight through the baseball.
His extension is
amazing.
Is really as good as it gets.
I was talking with Jeff Bridich today in the dugout. We were talking about Nolan, and we were talking about when Nolan makes a take or when he takes a swing. There's been times that over the course of the season, you've seen it, Drew, he'll foul a pitch off and he'll fall on his knees. But Bridich was saying whenever he sees him straight through the zone where he's under control. You see how his body wasn't falling over? That he's in such a good place that he knows if he gets a pitch because of how good Nolan's bat speed, how good his hand-eye coordination is, that he's going to square up the baseball.
He really exaggerates what you tell all young hitters, try to see it to the barrel, which is optically impossible. But when you see him swing, that great shot we just had, I mean, his head is right, kind of like a golfer. When you see a golfer swing and the head is completely down and the club is now already past contact.
And the only way he's able to do that is by keeping his front hip in long enough that it's not pulling his shoulder out. Pulling the shoulder out pulls your head out. So he keeps his front shoulder in, his front hip in. It is square to the pitcher. Textbook swing.
2 strikes on Morneau, and he chases up high. Now it's second and third with 1 out. So Justin not going to be pleased with that at bat, and that'll bring up Kyle Parker.
It's a nice tweet. I think Nolan Arenado is the most fun player to watch in baseball. Dude is absolutely incredible. That guy talks like me.
Well, the thing about Nolan is you come to watch him not only hit, you come to watch him play defense. And this is a deal where Parker's got to get the ball in play. There have been a great number of strikeouts, and really in Kyle's minor league career he has battled that. Do you tell yourself to cut down on the swing here, Spilly? What are you telling yourself at the plate? And obviously he's in a rough patch. He's 1 for his last 28.
You're just trying to hit the ball up the middle and not swing too hard.
But once again, it seems every time a guy's in a slump, baseball cliche, you're behind 0-2.
Every time. Every time. In this situation, especially at Petco Park for the Rockies, they are 4 for 36 in runners in scoring position. So if he fails, he's not the first Rocky to do it.
And Kennedy gets Morneau on 3 pitches. He gets Parker on 3 pitches. And now it'll be left to Descalso, who he struck out in the first inning. This would be one of those, if the Rockies don't come through here, honestly, it'd be one of those good, bad innings.
Yeah.
Good in that you got a run and you had a single, double. Bad in that you didn't produce at least 1 extra run. Nobody out second and third. You want to get minimum of 1 more home.
Well, and bad because Nolan Arenado's ground rule double was unfortunate. It hits a foot farther, a foot closer on the warning track. It doesn't bounce over the fence. And you have DJ LeMahieu scoring.
0-1 on Descalso. And now it's 0-2 on Descalso. 8 straight strikes with runners at second and third by Ian Kennedy. And that's why, for me, strikeouts are never overrated. I think some people in pitching analytics will say, well, get a quick out. That'd be great. You get a ground ball to short, and you don't have to go deep to get a strikeout. But in this situation, Kennedy has kept the ball out of play, and now the Rockies are down to their last strike. And this ball's high and deep to right field. Got a chance to fly. Kemp near the wall, reaches up, drops the baseball. 2 runs have scored. Descalso going to third, and the Rockies have a 5-2 lead. And the defensive issues for this Padre team continue to pile up.
Well, that is an out. And so far for Ian Kennedy, it shows that he has 5 earned runs given up, but his defense has not helped him today. The shorter fence in right field comes into play. That's a tough play for Matt Kemp, the one that we've seen him make before.
He's got to make that catch.
You got to make that play. You have to make that play, especially with 2 outs. Especially when Ian Kennedy has struck out the last 2 guys.
That is straight E9 on that.
And it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's near the wall. I know he has to leap. I mean, you played the outfield. That still, for a major league outfielder, is a play.
It's a tough play.
It's not an easy play, but it's a play you make.
You can make it. Well, Padres now 71 unearned runs allowed. That's the most in the major leagues.
Brandon Barnes at the plate.
And to your point, Drew, you were talking about Ian Kennedy's ability to strike out guys and how important that is for a 9.02 strikeouts per 9. So having the ability to get a quick ground ball, but also having the ability to know how to strike guys out.
It's big when you have traffic. It's big for relievers coming out of the pen, especially if they have inherited runners. 1-2. So Descalso at third. Came within a couple of feet of hitting a 3-run home run. Bounces off the heel of Matt Kemp's glove. And Kennedy, you can see by his body language as he walks off, is not happy. 5-2. The Rockies scored 3 in that third. A strong fan, and we'll try to get you into an upcoming game broadcast. Rockies up 5-2. Drew Goodman along with Ryan Spilborghs. Jenny Kavnar's with us as well. Will Myers in the third inning. Kyle Kendrick's pitch misses, ball 1. And that misses 2-0. Well, here's Matt Kemp upon arriving in the San Diego dugout. It is a game of imperfect, and Spilly can be a very frustrating game. I tell kids, and I don't know what you guys say at this level, I always tell kids, listen, nobody's going to hit 1,000. Nobody's going to field 1,000. So let's get that out of the way right now.
I mean, the term to talk about baseball, it's a grind. It is a mental grind. It's a physical grind. It is an emotional grind. It's not one of these games where you feel great every day at the end of the day. You could be 2 for 4, but you may have made a costly error. You may have struck out twice in 2 key situations.
Ball 4. Will Myers draws a leadoff walk. First walk issued by Kendrick. That'll bring up Yangervis Solarte. With every challenge call, the Subaru eyesight review will determine the outcome. Love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. inside corner, a strike on Solarte. He doubled to right in the first inning and came around on the Matt Kemp 2-run home run. I don't know if it's hit hard enough for 2. There's one on the, nope. A chance for Descalso, so he ate the baseball. 1 out, and that'll bring up Kemp. I know Matt right now feels like, okay, I've driven into and I've allowed to. I'm a push right now.
Yeah, my plus minus is 0.
This was good Matt Kemp.
Good Matt Kemp, and then 3 innings later, bad Matt Kemp. Spent some time with him in the Padres locker room before the game. He was trying to stay positive. It's been a tough season for a lot of guys in that Padres clubhouse, and I think they lost some pretty tough games against the Dodgers that they felt like they should have won, and knowing Matt Kemp, he really wanted to win those games against the Dodgers. Matt Kemp giveth, and he taketh away. Hashtag Padres.
Matt Kemp at one point in time, Spilly, I think you were still playing. Matt Kemp was looked upon as a very good center fielder.
He was an excellent center fielder and one of the better athletes in the game. Power threat. He almost had 40-40. Nearly had 40 home runs, had 40 stolen bases in 2011 when he was runner-up to Ryan Braun.
That is foul, fortunately. There's a little anger in that swing. He hit the facade of the upper deck just to the left of the Western Metal Supply Company, and it was even with the lettering Western Metal Supply. Look at this thing.
Off the deep.
That was deep.
Deep.
Well, Matt Kemp's best year was 2011. I'll show you a graphic here in a moment how productive he was in 2011. That's that year he lost in a close vote for the MVP with Ryan Braun. Swung on and missed. Kemp that year played every game but one for the Dodgers. He had 324, 39 jacks. That's what you were talking about, nearly a 40-40 season because he had 40 stolen bases, 126 ribbies. I mean, just ridiculous numbers. Now, since then, the most games he's played is 150. His best average since then, very good average, 303. But the most home runs, 25. Most ribbies, 91. He's battled injury, shoulder, some back. 1-2. Was it, did you say this on the air, or were you and I chatting off the air? But it's certainly, even if you did say it on the air, it bears repeating. Jason Giambi told you best way to get in shape for a season was to do what?
Stand in the parking lot with your cleats on.
Because you're on your feet so much.
Yeah.
In a hot parking lot. Didn't he say that?
Yeah, go stand in a hot parking lot with your cleats on.
2-2, 3-2. And Spilly being the literalist, I mean, that's what
I did.
do.
Yeah, every offseason.
Right.
I'd go to Santa Barbara in this parking lot and stand there.
Did you put suntan lotion on, I hope?
No, that's why I get this beautiful olive skin.
Yeah. I was going to remark about your beautiful olive skin. 3-2 on Kemp. 1 out. Solarte at first, conservative lead. And Matt hits this in the air down the right field line. It's got a twist on it. It's going to get up in the seats despite Brandon Barnes' pursuit.
Going back to that 2011 Matt Kemp had, I remember talking to him a couple years later after the Ryan Braun scandal, coming out with the PEDs, and it was noted that he used in 2011. And I think in this day and age where you find out about certain things, that a guy like Matt Kemp is probably deserving of that 2011 MVP.
You know, Matt is friends with Ryan Braun. I think he handled it publicly very well. I mean, he certainly expressed his disappointment, but he didn't throw Ryan Braun under the bus. And I really do think he handled the fact that it came out afterward in a proper fashion. But I'm sure there's no question inside he felt like he was deserving, and he should feel that way. 3-2 on the ground to third. Nolan retreating, comes up with it. There's one on the first. 5-4-3 double play started by the Wizard at third, Nolan Arenado. We'll go to the fourth inning. The Rockies in charge 5-2. It makes everything look a whole lot easier than it actually is. Yeah, Mark, I'll tell you what, Cespedes has been a huge get for the Mets. He has 31 home runs now, as Mark mentioned, 13, and he's had so many, 13 in a Mets uniform, so many big hits. And what has to be alarming is Dustin Garneau takes ball one there. It's now ball two. What has to be alarming for Washington, who falls now 5 games back, once again, it's Max Scherzer on the hill. Scherzer gave up 5 runs today. He has not pitched anything like the Max Scherzer that you'd expect and pitched in the first half.
Well, and the team isn't, the Nationals aren't even close to where they are right now. If it wasn't for Max Scherzer's first half, you'd love to see the second half. I mean, that's part of the reason why the Nationals went out and signed him to this huge contract. But down the stretch, he is losing some steam.
3 balls and a strike. The Matt Harvey saga continues. The Mets came out today and said, we have a plan. Yesterday, Matt Harvey on his blog said, I have every intention of pitching in the postseason. Garneau fouls that off. It's 3-2. When that breeze comes through the booth here, the only thing we're missing is drinks with an umbrella in it and a pillow to take a nap, maybe a hammock.
Well, we have the pillow for naps. We just need the drinks and the hammock.
3-2 and a big bouncer to short. Jerko for
First
Derek
chance to
Norris.
see it.
Yeah. He's an athlete. He wouldn't be in the big leagues if he couldn't play. He wouldn't be an infielder if he couldn't field a ground ball. And he's been asked to do it, and you know what? He's given it his best effort. He's been out there about half the time over the last 3 weeks.
11th start this season, and in the starts at shortstop, you want to make a guess how many errors he's made?
None.
None.
Errors, too, as you know, could be overrated.
Very overrated.
Some guys get to a lot of baseballs. Nobody gets to more base. Kyle Kendrick, hold on a second, turns and hits one deep to left and gone. Second deck of the Western Metal Supply Company. Make it 6-2. We told you there may be some home runs hit at Petco this afternoon with the warm weather. That was a no-doubter. First career home run for Kyle Kendrick. Earlier in the week, we saw Ryan Vogelsong, 38 plus, finally go deep. Look at Walt.
What? That's what he said. What?
That was a big boy home run.
He had a chance to stand and watch it, admire it.
Fastball's up and in on Charlie, who's 2 for 2. Look at this thing again.
That's a fastball that had a little run and ran right into Kyle Kendrick's bat, doing the best Carlton Fisk right there with a little high five to himself halfway down to first base. Not quite Carlton Fisk in many, many regards, but still, that's a very nice first-time career big league homer.
How about that? A strike at the knees on the outer edge. It's 1-2 on Blackman. You're right, Jake. He is a home run machine. I love when it's 104 out. The pitcher puts on either a jacket or wraps up the arm. One more thought on Max Scherzer. He's given up 11 home runs in his last 6 starts.
That's not good.
Outside, 2-2. You know, Blackman came in 4 for 21 lifetime against Ian Kennedy. Big double and a single. He scored 2 runs so far this afternoon. 6-2 Colorado, and this time Kennedy gets a strikeout, gets him to chase out of the zone. 7 strikeouts for Kennedy. 2 outs, and that'll bring up LeMahieu, who's also 2 for 2. Triple and a single for DJ. Up the average to 320 now.
He's got a chance. He's got a chance. And if he gets really hot this week, and Bryce Harper, there's a couple other guys in front of him, but DJ's got a shot to make it close when it comes down the stretch for a batting title. I think right now you have Cargo and Nolan leading the National League in home runs, so you're going to have a Rocky leading that, and Nolan right now with the RBIs, so there's a potential Rockies triple crown with different guys leading the National League.
That'd be something. Obviously, Nolan has a chance to lead in 2 categories. I mean, the way Cargo's thrown out RBIs lately, you don't count him out of the Ribby race, right?
Not at all.
Those 2 guys are in this visiting clubhouse here in San Diego, lockering next to each other, and they have really developed a strong, close relationship. Both of those guys, it's really impossible not to get along with, impossible not to gravitate to also. They're just really good people.
They're like Missy Franklin. They are bubbly humans that are great to be around, whether things are going good or bad. I mean, they are, you can talk to Cargo anytime.
That ball's hit hard by LeMahieu, but it's gloved by Spangenberg. That'll end the inning. Kyle Kendrick with his first career home run, 27th Rockies pitcher all time to do this. Trot around the bases. 6-2 Colorado.
over San Diego. With all the home runs being hit here, it's kind of curious that Kyle Kendrick even has a home run now, the first in his career. So we asked Walt Weiss if he feels like Petco Park is playing any different than years before.
I saw it the first series of the year, to be honest with you. You could just tell the ball was playing differently here. It was leaving the ballpark like I hadn't seen it before. You know, this was typically one of the tougher parks to hit a home run in, and tougher hitters parks, period.
Well, it's a good place for the Colorado Rockies to be then, because they have scored 55% of their runs via the home run so far this month. Here's how Petco Park is playing this year compared to last year. They're 2.07 home runs per game here compared to the 1.25 that they saw in 2014, which was last in Major League Baseball. Also, runs per game up to almost 8.5. And when you look at where Petco Park ranks in National League parks, Coors Field gives up the most home runs at 2.52. Here at Petco Park, it's now 5th in the National League in the home runs. Billy and I talked about it before the game when we were standing out in the outfield, that the ballpark's playing differently, and I know you guys have been discussing it for a variety of reasons, including the fences possibly being moved in. Where I was standing out here in the Jack Daniels area, this is where one of the fences used to be, this wall that says Jack Daniels. Now, obviously, that's been moved in. That was a couple of years ago. You have the video board that we've discussed. And you also have the weather. It's been a lot more hot here. So combined over the weekend, the Dodgers and the Padres, they combined for 8 home runs together on Saturday in one game alone. So it's really kind of leaves people scratching their head. I know you mentioned the tall building over there, Spilly. Lots of things going on. But did you get a chance to go into the Padres clubhouse and ask some of those guys how the ball's playing? I did, and the guy hitting right now, Justin Upton, was mentioning that he squared a couple balls up against the Dodgers and it didn't go anywhere. And he was citing that maybe the humidity was not allowing the ball to travel quite as well as it was earlier in the season. You know, some people cite, and this would be the fact that the ball is traveling well here, some people cite that beautiful new scoreboard they put in, blocking, you know, the wind tunnel, and you and Jenny have alluded to that. It is different. There's no question. You can't deny those numbers in the graphic. It's not a subtle change. You're talking about going from the worst ballpark to hit in, at least offensively, hit balls over the wall, etc. Even balls in the gap, they'd kind of sit there suspended in the air. That's a fair ball. Down the line for Jed Jerko. Upton's going to score, and Jerko stops at second, and it's 6-3. Leadoff walk hurting Kyle Kendrick. Well, Jed Jerko has turned it around offensively. He got sent down and got the swing straightened out. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that's going to flirt with 300, but he's got a lot of pop, and you know, he's a guy that's, you know, going to hit 250 to 270 and hit some home runs, and it looks like he has straightened things out. So he's got his 46th RBI. Just to finish that thought on this ballpark, when you go from last to upper half of the league, I mean, that is again a dramatic change, and it'll be interesting again to see what happens next year. If maybe it was one of those summers where it was really hot and the ball flew really well, but something tells me it's going to continue to play in a more offensive way, which really puts a burden on the front office led by A.J. Preller here on how you construct your team, because maybe the way you always thought you would construct it here in the past has to be altered. Now you have to change it, and you're right. The numbers do not lie. The Rockies between 2007 to 2014, 355 slugging percentage at Petco Park. This season, a 467 slugging percentage. So it's jumped up 122 points. So it's not just the offensive new unit that the Padres have. The ballpark is playing different. Derek Norris, this is a bloop, and it's going to drop. So Norris makes it first and third, nobody out. Tying run coming up in Corey Spangenberg.
Well, this is a swing where Charlie Blackmon in center field, you read the swing, he took a step back, and it's already going into what we call no man's land. That little Bermuda Triangle between the infielders and the two outfielders. They would have had to take a perfect read for Charlie to come in and maybe have a chance to dive on that, but once you take the first step back, that ball wasn't going to sit.
Kendrick has Spangenberg approaching. After that, it's Austin Hedges and then the pitcher Ian Kennedy. Fourth inning, Rockies out in front 6-3. You know, somewhere Ryan Klesko and Phil Nevin, who's now managing in the minor leagues, AAA manager in Arizona's chain, they're saying, why couldn't this have happened when we first went to Petco? They were the two angriest guys in baseball.
They still signed pretty nice free agent contracts, so I'm not going to feel bad for them. I'll feel bad for Brian Giles that hit a lot of balls off that Jack Daniels wall that may have gone out. Brian Giles was a heck of a player for a bunch of years.
Really good player. This is a high pop that DJ's going to have to battle the sun and make the catch. That's a big first out. No advancement, obviously. And with one gone, Hedges will come up. Get a ground ball here, you can get out of this inning without further damage.
Well, for Kyle, that was 2 straight innings. At third, he walked Will Myers to lead off the inning, and this inning, leading off with a walk to Justin Upton, has come back to bite him.
Brian had a little crazy in him. Brian Giles actually had a lot of crazy, and I was trying to clean it up. Brian told me that what he wanted to do right after he retired, the first fall, this is swung on, and I wonder if he's done this. I haven't seen him in a couple of years. Perhaps you know. He wanted it because he was a really good high school football player. In fact, Colorado State offered him a scholarship out of high school to play football up at Fort Collins. He wanted to get all his high school buddies, anybody together, to go and play, and he was going to go down to the Chargers, get equipment, suit everybody up, and play football. He looked at me, he goes, "You in?" I said, "My mind says yes, my body says, what are you, nuts?" But that's Giles, right?
That is Giles. A perfect example of Giles. And between him and Hoffman and Peavy.
This is back up the middle. Caught. Double play. I don't think Kyle realized he caught it initially. He's looking around for the baseball. So wait a second, it's in my glove. Austin Hedges lines into a 1-3 double play. How big is that?
Both sides of the ball today for Kyle Kendrick.
MPGs and fun to drive. Ford, go further. By Southwest Airlines, book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Well, it's a gorgeous day in San Diego, and on this Labor Day, we honor those that serve in so many different capacities. The great folks over at Peterson Air Force Base. They've been fighting fires out here in the West. And what you're looking at right there is a C-130 Hercules aircraft. They can carry 3,000 gallons of retardant. That's 28,000 pounds, and it will cover an area a quarter-mile long and 100 feet wide when discharged, as you just saw there on the footage. And they've been helping local fires like Waldo Canyon and Black Forest in our area, as well as here in California. And they've been going through a long drought the last few years. You're a native Californian. And so is the guy at the plate, Nolan Arenado. 2-0 on Nolan here in the 5th. Nolan hit a booming ground rule double in the 3rd to drive in a run. He would have driven in 2 had it not been a ground rule double. He has 106 RBIs, leading the National League. What a big homestand Nolan had, you think? Hit a home run in 6 straight games. Ended up hitting .441 on that homestand, but he wasn't alone. He had 6 home runs, 12 RBIs. A lot of guys swung the bat well. Cargo, obviously. Here's the 2-1. That's inside. 3-1. DJ had a big homestand. He had .462 on the homestand. Reyes has been swinging it well the last couple of weeks. And Nolan draws a walk. It's hard to walk Nolan. Nice job.
Well, that ball really fooled Nolan, too. I mean, that was a curveball thrown at his front shoulder that he almost jumped out of the way.
That'll bring up Justin Morneau. A reminder, the day after every Rockies victory, get 50% off your online order at Papa John's. The promo code is ROXWIN at papajohns.com. RBI single for Morneau in the 1st. He struck out swinging in the 3rd. 6-3 Rockies. So Nolan has walked now twice in the last 11 games.
That's a lot for him.
He's really been patient, huh? Well, listen, if you're going to hit balls over the wall and into the gap, why walk? On the corner. 2 strikes on Morneau. Second time today, Ian Kennedy gets Morneau. That's 8 strikeouts.
And he got Justin Morneau to chase again with the high fastball. Ian Kennedy has been using the high fastball already today on a lot of hitters. Kyle Parker comes to mind as he stepped up to the plate, or he struck out twice today, and both times coming in with the high fastball.
Kyle Parker takes a strike. Kyle has punched out twice in this game.
The Rooftop is a place to be during baseball season. Arrive early for pregame festivities and beer specials before the first pitch.
And it's 0-2.
Playoff bound for the Asheville Tourists.
Good for them.
Good for them. You know what? New Britain was on a run. They won 8 straight, and they had a chance to finish the season 500, and they lost today to the Portland Sea Dogs. So they will end their season 2 games under 500.
Well, it was a rough final outing for Eddie Butler at Albuquerque today. 5 innings, He allowed 8 runs, 5 earned on 9 hits. He walked 1, he struck out 5. He allowed 3 home runs today. Albuquerque trailing 8-0 in Sacramento. And that's the 3rd time Parker has struck out today. Nick Vincent is up in the Padres bullpen. This brings Daniel Descalso to the plate.
I was watching Descalso get ready today as I was walking down to listen to Walt do his press conference, and I had to walk past the batting tunnel, and Descalso was starting to take his flips. I said, Descalso, you're in there today, right? And he goes, yeah, you got it. I was like, great. Rockies are 21-11 when Descalso starts, and I was saying it to him, and Nolan comes in and he kicked me out. He's like, you can't say that about our special weapon.
It's really pretty remarkable, isn't it? 10 games over 500 when he's in the starting lineup, and the Rockies enjoying a 6-3 lead here in the 5th. Daniel's been a part of it. He hit that long fly ball to the wall and right near the top of the wall. Matt Kemp jumped and had it go off the heel of his glove with 2 men on. It ended up being scored a 3-base error. 2 runs came in. And right now, that's the biggest difference in this game. It was a 3-2 Rockies lead at that point. It made it 5-2, and it came with 2 outs. Off the bat, you thought Daniel may have hit a 3-run homer.
And here's that play in question. The ball hits right off Matt Kemp in the heel. And this is the new right field fence that they brought in a lot closer. Just think about that. A year ago, that is an out. That's an easy out. This year, it's a run scoring error.
Nolan took off on that 1-2.
So you can see there's the Jack Daniels party deck that they just put in. And that old wall is where the wall used to be. That used to be right field.
Well, if we can pan left, a little directing here for our director Ken Miller. If we can pan left, see where it says Fox Sports San Diego, and then the 2 doors there that, you know, obviously is a gate. That used to go out. This is fouled off. That used to go out to 409 feet.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I was trying to find pictures of it where I used to think it used to jet out to 437.
You played, I believe you played in this game. I'm kind of assuming you played in this game. Helton hit a ball at night with the marine layer in, out to that area that we were just showing.
Yep, the beach.
Right? And I mean, off the bat, you thought he hit it a mile. And Dave Roberts was playing center field. He cruised out there, never even got his feet on the dirt. He's shy of the warning track, tucks it away for whatever it was, the 2nd out of the inning. And that night, I went up to Todd. I said, did you get that ball? He goes, all I got. And it didn't even reach the warning track. That's how hard it was to hit here. Arenado is caught. And that will end the inning. So Descalso will continue next inning. We go to the bottom of the 5th. The Rockies leading 6-3 at Petco.
Diego 6-3 as we head into the bottom of the 5th inning. Every time we're in San Diego, you cannot help but think about Tony Gwynn, the legend Tony Gwynn. Before the day, I spent some time with Walt Weiss, and I was asking him, is that the best hitter you've ever seen? And he said yes. And he brought up a hitter-pitcher matchup that he said, you know what, out of all the guys I've seen, Tony Gwynn owned Greg Maddux. He was like, he hit like 500 off Greg Maddux. So I looked up the numbers, and in 107 plate appearances, Tony Gwynn hit 417. But this is what I'm trying to get at. 2 Hall of Fame players, Tony Gwynn versus Greg Maddux. How many times in 107 at-bats do you think Greg Maddux struck out Tony Gwynn?
Well, you kind of set me, first of all, Tony didn't strike out much. You kind of set me up for this. So I'm going to say he never struck out against him, which would be absurd, but I'm going to say that.
It is the record in Major League Baseball. Hall of Famer versus Hall of Famer. Tony Gwynn not striking out against Greg Maddux is a record. Tony Gwynn also holds the next best record in 40 at-bats against Pedro Martinez. 35 at-bats, never struck out. Hall of Famer against Hall of Famer.
That's ridiculous.
35 at-bats.
Ridiculous. Hand-eye coordination. Plus, he used, I remember talking to Gwynn about it, he used like a 32-inch bat.
32, 30 ounce. I want you to think about that. Hall of Famer versus Hall of Famer. And Tony Gwynn holds the 2 highest records. Tony Gwynn versus Maddux is the record. 94 at-bats without a strikeout, 107 plate appearances. And then Tony Gwynn versus Pedro, who struck out everybody.
I want to give you some context on another number, and that's extraordinary. Tony ended up with 3,141 hits. He struck out only 434 times. By the way, Alexi Amarista's pinch hitting. We're going to lose track of the game here.
Sorry.
Pinch hitting for pinch hitting for Ian Kennedy here in the 5th inning, and then it'll be the top of the order. And Will Myers. 1 and 2 is the count. So the late Tony Gwynn struck out only 434 times. And again, to give you context on that, Mark Reynolds, different kind of player, but Mark Reynolds has struck out a couple hundred
400 times this year, right?
Well, in a couple of years, he could approach what Gwynn did in a 2-decade career. That's crazy, though. 107 at-bats, he never struck out.
Against Greg Maddux.
Yeah, he was pretty good, wasn't he? Silly, huh? And Pedro, the most he ever struck out in a season was 40 times in 1988. That's ridiculous. Remember one year, I got to look this up, he had 17 home runs, I'm pretty sure, one season. This ball's hit a long way by Amarista, and Barnes leaps and makes the catch. Makes Matt Kemp feel even worse. Amarista gave it a ride, and Barnes made a wonderful leaping grab.
It's a great read off the bat by Brand Barnes, and watch how he sticks out his right hand so he has a feel of where that wall is. Amarista obviously upset not being able to, number one, get a hit, number two, that it doesn't go out. But again, the perspective of this, if you don't have the Jack Daniels party deck, that is an easy, easy out.
Yeah, but you have a lot of folks that are not in a good mood right now.
Right.
If you didn't have that.
No, that's a nice place to have an umbrella cocktails.
Will Myers takes a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Yeah, Tony hit 17 home runs in 1997. He had 135 in his virtually unparalleled career. This ball's ripped by Myers to left. It's going to take a hop and go off the wall. And Will Myers gallops into second with a 1-out double. His first hit of the game. Probably coming up here on the 3rd time through the lineup for the Kemps and the Uptons and the Solartes. This is one of those deals where with the lead, I'm sure Walt wants to be able to get Kyle through this inning and then turn it over to the bullpen.
Yeah, you're hoping that you're going to be able to get that. But look at the height of this pitch. This is above Will Myers' belt. And this is why Kendrick has been getting hit hard this inning. When you're having your sinker and your sinker is above your belt, you're not going to get a lot of movement. You get a little bit of run, but run hitters can adjust to the run. It's low movement down in the zone that allows Kyle Kendrick to be successful to induce those ground balls. And as we've mentioned over the course of this entire year about Kyle Kendrick, his ability to induce the ground ball are at his career lows. And part of that has to do with the elevation of his pitches.
Scott Oberg doing his thing. 1 out. The 2013 American League Rookie of the Year, Will Myers at second. And here's Solarte, double and a ground out. And that's a broken bat, base hit. Barnes coming quickly, they'll stop Myers. First and third, and here's Matt Kemp again, representing the tying run for the Padres.
Last 3 batters that Kendrick has faced, not a lot of guys being fooled by much. That ball is off the end of the bat, but still, that is a very comfortable swing for Yangervis Solarte. Brandon Barnes, that's how you're supposed to do it. You run through the baseball. Obviously, you're trying not to overthrow the first baseman, but that is how you're able to get a good throw towards home plate.
So Kemp, a line drive, 2-run home run down the left field line in the first, and then he bounced into a 5-4-3 double play. '89 RBIs for Kemp. He's driven in 16 against the Rockies this year, and this could be 2. There's 1. There's 2. Nice pickup by Morneau at first, and the crowd groaning. Second double play Kemp is hit into this afternoon, and the Rockies hang on to that 3-run lead. LeMahieu did a beautiful job starting this, and then the great pickup by Morneau.
Just love the exchange between Descalso and DJ LeMahieu, being able to come across the bag and make a good strong throw.
So Matt Kemp, for the second time, grounds into a double play, and the Rockies will head to the 6th with a 3-run lead.
Just imagine how long it would take a small team of firefighters to dig a quarter-mile long fire line. We can do that in about 5 seconds.
Well, the good folks at Peterson Air Force Base, thank you for all that you guys, men and women, have done there. And the Rockies over at Petco Park leading 6-3 on this Labor Day, an afternoon special with Ryan Spilborghs and Jenny Kapner. I'm Drew Goodman. Rockies have always been good on Labor Day. Do you know that, Spilly?
How good?
12-6 good.
That's great.
That's really good.
That's very, very good. 6 games over.
And they've won 2/3 of their games on Labor Day.
And this guy usually helps push the Rockies to being 10 games over 500 when he plays.
Descalso rips one to right. That'll get down in front of Kemp. Daniel with a knock, and that comes against Nick Vincent, who takes over for Ian Kennedy here in the 6th, and that'll bring up Brandon Barnes. The Rockies and Marlins both came into the league in 1993.
That's a small sample size compared to the Giants and the Indians, though.
Nick Vincent was in the ball game yesterday, and he airmailed one that cost the Padres dearly defensively. Here's Barnes. So Ian Kennedy goes 5 innings. He allows 6 runs, 4 earned on 7 hits, and he struck out 9. He walked 1 in the game. That's a ground ball to short. There's 1, and there's 2. Brooks Brown throwing for the Rockies in their pen. Looks like he'll be next. Garneau a strikeout and a ground ball to short. He's 0 for 2. That off the mask of Hedges.
Well, here's the foul ball off Austin Hedges' face right here. And sometimes, now that we see Nick Hundley on not playing the last 2 days, you're always worried when you see the catchers get hit. And not being able to know exactly when Nick Hundley got injured the other day. They said it was when he was hitting, but the day before he took a ball off the face, off the mask.
Good pitch by Vincent on the corner. It's 0-2. Christian Adames, who was just named to the All-PCL team for the season. Congratulations to Christian. Garneau works under this, popped up right side. Spangenberg makes the catch. A 1-2-3 inning, despite the base hit by Descalso. 6-3 Rockies. In the first inning, they went double triple with Blackman and DJ LeMahieu. And Kyle Kendrick, a solid 5 innings of work today. He also hit his first career home run, which I'm sure has him more excited than anything else he could have done today. And the Rockies, after 5 innings from Kendrick, will turn it over to the bullpen with a 6-3 lead. Brooks Brown will take over. Justin Upton will lead things off for San Diego.
As you can see, Brooks Brown has had a pretty good season so far. 24 innings, 15 strikeouts. What he has been good has been the 4 out of 15 inherited runners. Only 4 have scored. Obviously, he's starting off this inning on his own today, but yesterday he did pitch against the San Francisco Giants and in a third of an inning gave up a run.
Strikeout by Upton, and then he walked in the 4th, came around on the Jerko double. Justin will be a free agent at the end of the year. .24 home runs, 73 driven in. He's going to have a lot of suitors. He's still a young man. Swung on and missed. It's 1-1 on the 28-year-old.
Follow the Rockies with MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live Rockies baseball. At Bat is up to the minute with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCasts, and more. Get MLB.com now.
This is bounce to third, and Justin can run, throw to first, not going to get him. Arenado unable to throw somebody out. That's a news flash. A leadoff infield single for Justin Upton.
Well, and Nolan probably would have had him had he not had trouble getting the exchange right here, which is rare to see. Still makes a good strong throw in just that split second. Most guys don't even have a chance of making that play. Just the fact that Nolan's able to do that on a day in, day out basis, and we've come so accustomed to seeing that play being finished.
Jed Jerko, a pop out and a double from a West Virginia star. He's from Morgantown. Decided to stay at home for college. DJ going out. Barnes coming in. Look out. And DJ makes the catch. I would say that's one of the scariest moments on a baseball field, when you got an outfielder flying in head up and an infielder going back head up. In a stadium, Spilly, you've been in that situation many times. Hard to hear, isn't it?
It's very hard to hear, but when you are in these situations, outfielders are trained to slide feet first, and if an infielder is going to make a play, stay high. That way, if there is a sort of collision, you don't have 2 guys diving at it. So far, the outfielders, there's been a tough read for Charlie Blackman with Derek Norris hitting. And again, there's another, just you're reading the swing of the bat. These guys are taking steps back.
Here's Norris. And Derek takes the strike. Home plate umpire, I don't even know if we ID'd him earlier today. Mike Malinsky behind home plate. Mark Wegner's at first. Marty Foster at second. Mike Winters at third. There goes Upton, and it's fouled off. Justin's now played with Arizona, Atlanta, and the Padres. We'll see where he is situated next year. Christian Friedrich in the Rockies bullpen. Kevin Quackenbush in the Padres.
That name makes me giggle.
I looked at you when I said that. You were giggling.
I was. It's the little things, Drew.
It is. Often it is.
For Brooks Brown, it's the first time he has pitched on consecutive days since June the 2nd and 3rd.
That misses. 2-2. Rockies have not won at Petco this year. The only time they got shut out a whole season's worth of games in San Diego was back in 1999 when the Padres were still playing at Qualcomm. 3-2.
It was the Murph before it was Qualcomm, right?
That was the name, yeah.
The Murph?
I never understood that. Well, I do understand it. It's about a lot of dollars being put forth by Qualcomm. But Jack Murphy, he was named after a guy who was a local sports writer forever at the San Diego Union Tribune and the brother of the late Bob Murphy, who was an iconic broadcaster. This is a blooper that's going to drop with Upton going. He'll go to third. Broken bat single for Derek Norris. So again, traffic out there for the Padres, but the Rockies have been able to get some double plays in these situations earlier in the ball game.
2 straight at bats for Derek Norris with a single, and both singles have been on broken bats. Meeting on the mound right now, Brooks Brown has pretty decent splits against left-handed hitters. But Walt's going to come out and make the move. With the bullpen the way it is, where you have 100 guys down there, might as well use some of the matchups.
First and third, one out. Christian Friedrich will come in for the Rockies with Corey Spangenberg due up. Just to conclude the story on Jack Murphy Stadium. So Jack Murphy was a local writer and a distinguished one. He was honored with his name on the stadium. That happens to media folks all the time these days, right? But he was the brother of the late Bob Murphy, an iconic broadcaster for almost 50 years with the New York Mets. 6-3 our score here in the 6th inning. The Rockies ahead of the Padres on Labor Day. To the shortstop spot for Joe Madden. He hit his 13th. Spangenberg tried to bunt his way on against Christian Friedrich. It is 0-1. First and third situation right now for the Padres. Here's the Cubs yesterday. That's our old friend, the Bean, Johnny Herrera, your old teammate. After Miguel Montero hit a grand slam, he hits a wall scraper, hits it in the basket out there.
What? Did they give him a curtain call? Are you kidding me? It's 5-1.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, the Bean, having great timing, heard the crowd still roaring after the Montero grand slam, and he said, "I'm going to get some of that." And he ran up the stairs. Is he one of the best teammates you ever had?
Yeah, that's why I'm making fun of him. I mean, I love the guy. I love Johnny Herrera. It's been well documented how close him and Cargo are, having played Little League together, and Cargo holds no punches back. If you want to talk to him about Johnny Herrera, you will get him cracking up.
Oh, they were texting back and forth because Cargo heard about it. That is a fair ball, and Garneau, whoa, that was a bad decision. I thought he had the runner at second. Now one runner's going to score. As Barnes backs it up. That was interesting. Dustin jumped on the ball in fair territory. He looked to second. You have Derek Norris running. And he opts to go to first, and Spangenberg's the fastest guy maybe in the stadium.
The whole play was a very strange play. I didn't understand why Spangenberg was trying to bunt on every single pitch against Christian Friedrich. I get the first and third, not trying to ground into a double play. DJ having to reach in. He jams his left hand into Spangenberg. Keep an eye on DJ throughout the rest of today.
Is that a little bit of the inexperience of Garneau, not realizing how fast the guy at the plate was?
It's got to be. I think it was like when you watch Drew Stubbs run. You see him going down the line, and the effort's not. He's not running hard, it looks like, and he's covering so much ground. Very similar to Dexter Fowler. Dexter would run, look like he was jogging, and he's covering so much ground.
Well, now what you have is second and third tying run at second now. After the single, they're giving him a base hit and an error clearly on Garneau. And that's fouled off of the lower leg, Austin Hedges. It looked like he had Norris.
He had Norris. Yes, he did. It's easy from up here to see and understand, hey, you have an easy play at second base, but being down on the field, the sights, the sounds, the internal clock you have in your head to make certain plays. I think he was caught off guard as well. I know the Padres are very high on Austin Hedges. He's going to go play some winter ball this year. Get more at-bats, get him behind the plate. I think after watching Derek Norris over the course of the season, they realize that Derek's probably not going to be their answer behind the plate.
Hedges keeps the at-bat alive. Getting righties out has been an issue for Christian Friedrich. They're hitting .377 against him. Former #1 pick out of EKU, Eastern Kentucky University. Edwin Thompson took that program over in the last few months. The brother-in-law of Chris Warren, the Rockies advanced scout. That's high. One-two, swung on and missed. Big strikeout there. That's the second out. Looks like Melvin Upton is going to pinch hit.
Well, after fouling the ball 0-2, Friedrich kept going inside, trying to pound Austin Hedges with a fastball right there. That is the back foot slider that we've seen Friedrich throw on occasion that has stricken out the right-handed hitters. He hasn't been consistent enough with that pitch to be able to get more right-handers out, but that was an excellent pitch right there.
Steve Foster wants to go over how they want to handle Upton. Now, the Rockies used a lot of pitchers yesterday. Upton's been announced. Brett Wallace has been cooking off the bench, a left-handed bat. You saw the Rockies with Walt mix and match some yesterday. Wonder if that's a potential occurrence right here. Again, you have a lot of arms. I know the bullpen was busy yesterday.
Yep. Well, you have Justin Miller's in the Rockies bullpen right now. He looks like he's ready. But you're basically picking your matchup. Would you rather face Melvin Upton, or would you rather face, with Justin Miller, have Brett Wallace, who, as you just mentioned, has been on fire?
Upton pinch hit yesterday and stayed in the ball game. He was 0 for 2 in that 5-1 loss to the Dodgers. Here we go, and that swung on and missed. Actually a foul tip.
Well, if Christian can locate that slider to the back foot of the right-handed hitters, it'll allow him to change that 360 batting average the other way around. It's just been the issue for Christian. He's not been able to get that pitch located down.
This is, again, a huge sequence in this game. After the error, a run is scored. You have Norris at third, Spangenberg at second, who represents the tying run. The Rockies up 6-4. Good block by Garneau, 1-1. Just 36 starts this year from Melvin Upton Jr. Spent some time on the DL. 7 for 21 pinch hitting. Will Myers on deck. I want to see him till
next inning.
Absolutely. Missed. It's 1-2. Excuse me. It's 2-2. Melvin Upton, back in 2012 with Tampa, hit 28 home runs, drove in 78. 246 average. Since then, he's hit 204 with 26 home runs in 333 games.
Got hot at the right time.
Well, financially got hot at the right time. But you wonder what happened. 2-2, 3-2.
Melvin was really an add-on in the deal that sent Craig Kimbrell from the Braves to the Padres. It was almost the Padres had to take on the contract that he signed with the Braves in order to be able to get Kimbrell.
Yeah, that was the only way that deal was going to get consummated. 3-2 on Upton. I think you got to keep working the ball on the inner third, don't you?
You know what? When I first saw Melvin Upton, when he was B.J. Upton as a 19-year-old in the Sally League, he hit a ball off of Baldo Jimenez in Asheville that I will never forget. B.J. was the best player I've ever seen coming up through the minor leagues. He could run, he played shortstop, hit a ball, what I thought was 500 feet off a 100-mile-an-hour fastball inside.
(3-2) and cutter misses, and now the bases are loaded for Will Myers. I would think Walt will come on and bring in a right-hander here. And now Walt's going to double switch it also.
So it looks like Rafael Noah is going to come in.
Parker's going to come out. So with 2 outs in the 6th inning, the Rockies ahead by 2 runs. The bases loaded. We'll take a break. Family shot, it looks like, at the ballpark. Rockies in San Diego on this Labor Day. They're up by a couple of runs, and they've made a couple of changes here. The bases are loaded. There's 2 outs. Ynoa comes in. Parker goes out. Justin Miller will try to end this inning. He'll face Will Myers, who is 1 for 2 and a walk. He struck out, walked, and doubled in the 5th inning. Padres have had a small village on base today, but they haven't had many big hits.
No, they haven't. They came into today's game, the last 3 games, 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Today they are 3 for 6. They've had quite a few opportunities to score some runs.
So Justin Miller looking for an out, and he gets a slider over for a strike.
Well, Myers with the bases loaded this year, 0 for 4. Let's make it 0 for 5.
Another slider, and this ball's crushed. It's got to go foul. It is a foul ball. Ooh. That thing almost knocked a brick off the Western Supply Metal Company. Justin, whatever that was, don't throw it again.
That's high up off that building. That's Will Myers, his reaction was priceless. He looks in his dugout, shook his head. It's just a long strike. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's now in the favor of Justin Miller in a big way. It's 0-2. Former Detroit Tiger trying to get rid of Myers. Fastball just missed at 96. Now it's a reach back because he was set up. Garneau was over the outside corner. That almost looked like it had the inside corner. Let's see where this ball is. Just inside.
It's a good job by Garneau to be able to still stick that when you've missed your location by so far. Being able to turn the glove over and hold it for the umpire to be able to see it.
That slider is a frisbee-like slider. At least that one was also. Fortunately, it was high and out of the strike zone.
Well, at times Justin Miller can get into trouble just by his natural mechanics because he is so closed off. In order to get his arm on top of the baseball, he really has to be conscious about it.
2-2. Another slider. This one's popped up. Nolan hoping for a play. And he dives. Did he catch it? Did he do it again? Still don't know. He didn't make the catch. Now is he okay? Guess he's okay. He's looking up at the video board.
He's holding his back and his hip. Of course, Keith Duggar, the Rockies athletic trainer, and Walt Weiss are going to come out and take a look. But talk about effort. That is off the glove. And it looks like where he maybe hurts himself is when he landed into the seats cup holders.
Superman.
I know he talks about sometimes he can't help himself, and as you see him breathing in, the sigh of relief is more because he says it. He's like, you know what, sometimes it's scary. I know I shouldn't be doing that. The play he made in San Francisco, he said, bro, that was scary. I could have totally...
Sure. But your competitive instincts take over, and that's why when he tells you after, I'm not going to do that again, you can say that, but then the ball's in the air and you think you can get it, and you're going to give everything you have to try to make that catch. Extraordinary effort. And it's 2-2 on Myers. As Miller focuses in again on getting this third out here in the 6th inning. A run in the 6th for San Diego. Here's the 2-2. Got him. That was an outstanding slider. That thing dove off the table, and Justin Miller strikes out Myers with the bases loaded. We'll go to the 7th. The Rockies still +2 on the scoreboard.
As we head to the top of the 7th, Carlos Gonzalez with a bat in hand in case if he needs to pinch hit in this game. He did not start today, but due up in this inning, Rafael Inoa, Blackman, LeMahieu. Hopefully they set the table for Nolan Arenado to do some more damage against the Padres. Let's take a look at last night. Carlos Gonzalez, Nolan Arenado, they have 36 home runs apiece, but they also can dress up and play a little flashy. I saw this picture and I thought of another duo, a very famous duo that hits a lot of home runs in their days. Look at these similarities. Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco back in their 80s, 90s days with the Oakland A's, and Nolan Arenado, Carlos Gonzalez. Not only is the look similar, the numbers are similar. We took the 1990 A's. Those two, McGwire and Canseco, combined for 289 games, hit 76 home runs, 209 RBIs. To date, Cargo and Nolan, 261 games, 72 RBIs, or 72 home runs, so just 4 short of the Canseco-McGwire total, and 194 RBIs. Pretty crazy when you look at all those similarities. Guys, I'm going to ask you, who do you think Cargo is? McGuire or Canseco?
Canseco, because he had, obviously when he could run.
Yeah.
Canseco was a 40-40 guy. Cargo's, flirted with being a 30-30 guy. So he has to be Canseco and Nolan has to be McGuire.
So they were even in perfect position.
Right.
To mirror the picture.
Yeah.
Perfect picture. Good job.
It's pretty cool.
Do you know, Jenny, with these guys tied at 36 home runs each, there's Cargo. The Rockies have a chance to have two guys hit 40 home runs in the same season. That has not happened since the 90s with the Rockies. And here's something to me that I read today that's kind of incredible. Since 2002, when the humidor was put in, and what was Coors Field known for? A ton of home runs. And the Rockies had the Lake Street Bombers and so many great offensive players. The Rockies have not had a 40 home run season since the humidor was put in 2002. Now, around baseball, there have been 73 such occurrences. This year, the Rockies have an outstanding chance to break that stretch because both, again, Cargo and Nolan, with about 4 weeks of baseball left, are sitting on 36 home runs.
Drew, they also have a chance to do something that hasn't been done in 20 years in the National League. Back in '95, Bichette and Walker finished 1-2 in the home run race. Bichette had 40 home runs, and Walker had 36, tied with Sosa. So these guys would be the first teammate duo to do that since '95. That'd be pretty incredible for the Rockies to do it 20 years later.
Yeah, in the American League in '06, the White Sox had two teammates hit 40+. That's the last time you had two teammates with 40+ home runs.
I'm going to guess it.
Go ahead.
Jim Thome.
Yeah.
Jermaine Dye.
Absolutely, you nailed it. Thome and Dye. Kevin Quackenbush making his 48th appearance. And Rafael Noah with a 3-2 count. Rafi's first at bat and a base hit for Rafi. Tell you what, these two guys that the Rockies brought up. Now, Rafi made the team out of spring training. And he's a gamer. When I think of Rafael Noah, I think gamer. And the young guy they just brought back to the big leagues who had a cup of coffee. I mean, he got a sip of coffee last year.
An espresso shot.
An espresso shot. Thank Christian Adames. There's a lot to like about those two kids.
You know what? And Christian Adames last winter really showed, I think, the Rockies organization what he's all about, going down to, was it Venezuela or Dominican, where he won the batting championship or the batting title. He's proving he deserves a chance to at least be looked at the major league level, and an all-star PCL league under his belt. I think there's more opportunities for him in this month of September.
So Charlie's had a big day. Double and a run scored in the first, single and a run scored in the third. 4 runs, 10 hits, 2 errors for San Diego. 6 runs, 9 hits, and an error on the Rockies.
Well, I think you're going to see at some point Rafael Noah challenge Derek Norris, who has now moved behind the plate.
This is a great bunt, and it'll work as a sacrifice right up the line. So Charlie Blackmon moves Noah into scoring position for DJ.
Well, Charlie does a good job getting set up early enough to be able to make a good direction to bunt towards Will Myers. I know he probably didn't want to bunt it so hard, so he had a chance for the base hit, but he did do his job. Move Noah over to second base, and now you have DJ and Nolan coming up with opportunities.
Spill, you had a nice run in the big leagues, and I want to compliment Walt Weiss, because there's a lot of times when a team falls way out of it that it's all about individual stats. It's obvious sometimes when you're watching every day. This team truly continues to play hard. They continue to play the right way, and I think it has a lot to do with that guy who stands on the top step of the dugout.
Well, he's encouraging the guys to play the game the right way. And I've always told people, if you want to stick in the big leagues, you have to win. You have to win. You have to play the game right. And when you're on a losing team, those little attributes, the ability to drop a bunt down, sack bunt, hit a cutoff man, they're not shown. But if you're on a team right now, So that ball goes foul, even though you are under 500. But you're still doing those type of things. You are leading towards a winning culture. You're teaching the guys that no matter what, we're going to still play hard.
And they have done that.
They have.
1 ball, 2 strikes on LeMahieu, 2 for 3, tripled in a run in the first, and this ball is down that right field line. That's flirting with the foul pole, and it's on the wrong side of it.
The ball's flying. I mean, that ball is
flying.
8 feet, 8 rows deep in right field, and DJ, it's well documented. He doesn't have that much pop, but for being 6'4", he has some.
Well, he hit a home run last week, 462 feet.
And I teased him about it. I said, why'd you run so hard? He's like, I don't get him enough to know how to trot.
You trot on that one, you can run backwards. Wouldn't advise that. Oh, who was the Met in '62, Dougie, who ran backwards, or he hit like his 100th career home run, ran around the bases backwards? Jimmy Pearsall do that? But I thought it was, you know what? I thought it was somebody else. Anyhow, it's a good way to wear one next time up.
Yeah, but it was worth it.
Maybe.
Still talking about it 50 years later.
That's right. Those are comfy right there. Yeah, it was Jimmy Pearsall. Those seats may be too comfortable on a day like today.
It might be too hot for those seats.
That, or you'd be snoring in the fourth. 2-2. DJ does as good a job, wouldn't you agree, Spilly, letting the ball travel as any guy I've seen in baseball this year.
It's amazing. I mean, there's no movement forward. His head rarely moves. He still has enough leverage with being 6'4". Keeps his front shoulder in, his front hip closed, which allows that barrel to just stay in the zone, which allows him to hit the ball opposite field. And to stick with that approach the entire time when guys are throwing like Quackenbush at 94, 95 miles an hour with sink.
Strike 3. DJ inquiring with Mike Malinsky where exactly that was. He thought it was off the plate, and it may very well have been.
It has been, but it has been called a strike the entire day. So as you've been watching with Ian Kennedy has had that pitch called, Kyle Kendrick has had that pitch called. We've seen a lot of Padres and Rockies pitchers today going to the outside pitch fastball and letting it run its way back, and it has been called for a strike.
Darren Balsley going out to the mound with Nolan at the plate. First base is open, but it's where you have protection for Nolan. You got Justin Morneau on deck.
Looking for a great deal? Get a Coca-Cola value pack. Available September 18th through the 20th versus the San Diego Padres for either $59 or $79, depending on seat location. Those are amazing numbers. I don't think at the start of this season I ever expected to see Nolan with 36 homers and 106 RBIs.
I asked him today in the clubhouse, I said, you know, he always drove the ball well, but this next level of power, if you will, he had 18 home runs last year. When did you feel it come on? And he said, you know, in spring training, I noticed when I squared it up and I hit a couple balls out, it just felt different. It felt like the ball really was jumping differently.
Well, Nolan's not going to like this because they called a strike on it. Because of the way the bat went through the zone, it looks he was just trying to get out of the way. This has happened many times before. And according to the rule, it's intent to swing the bat. That is not intent. That's intent to get out of the way. It's like, come on, I'm not trying to swing at that.
Yeah, you know what? I disagree with that. And if it was a Padre up there, I wouldn't agree with it either.
Exactly.
His intent is to preserve his noggin.
Exactly. He's not trying to swing the bat. It's just his body taking him out of the way of the baseball. Nolan's not going to like that.
Yeah, he's very frustrating at bat. That'll end the inning. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. The Rockies up 6-4.
All the time.
You're flying above the ground at 150 feet, near stall speed, in the mountains typically. A lot of trust involved. We trust each other with our lives, literally.
More images from Peterson Air Force Base, where they have fought so many fires in the western part of the country. We go to the bottom of the 7th. The Rockies are up 6-4. Miller continues on, and Yangervis Solarte is the first up for the Padres. He's batting second this afternoon. He had a double in the first, reached on a fielder's choice in the third, and a base hit in the 5th. So he's 2 for 3. Matt Kemp's on deck, then Justin Upton. Thick part of the Padre lineup here in the 7th. Two and 0. The outside corner, 2 balls and a strike.
It's always important late in the game to get the first batter of the inning. It changes the complexity of the inning. Justin Miller, over the course of this season, has retired 15 of the first 21 batters he's faced, leading off the eighth.
This is going to be over the Rockies dugout or right on top of it. That's a great catch.
There's been a lot of great catches from the fans today.
There's players in the audience.
And that was Tony Gwynn. That's a great Tony Gwynn jersey.
The old school Tony Gwynn Padre jersey.
Well, Nolan giving chase. Watches the deflection, the tip drill.
He went. Well, the other one was a swing. That was a swing. And Solarte's gone. What goes around comes around. Second strikeout for Miller. Check it. Third strikeout. Yeah, second strikeout for Miller.
Nolan's still barking. Third base not liking the entire situation of swings. But that is a back foot slider if I've ever seen one. Same thing. Wow. I mean, that's amazing to me.
Kemp fouls it off. It's been an interesting day for Matt Kemp. Easy for me to say. 2-run home run. That's good for Matt in the first. Then he had the ball that he couldn't catch with 2 men in scoring position. Would have been the third out. He leaped at the wall. He didn't have to like jump to the top of the wall, but he was around the fence and it went off the heel of his glove on a Descalso long fly. Turned into a 3-base error. 2 runs scored. And then he came up twice with runners in at first and third. He's fouled off and hit into double plays. And the second time that happened, he heard the boos from the San Diego crowd. Keep in mind that Matt Kemp was the biggest villain to Padre fans whenever the Dodgers would come to town. And then they opened the paper one day in the off season. Now it is 2015. They see it on their Twitter account that the newest Padre is Matt Kemp. So they had to embrace a guy that they were used to booing. And he strikes out here on a very good slider by Miller. 2 outs.
The slider has been working for Justin Miller. 3 straight strikeouts. Will Myers, Yangervis Solarte, and now Matt Kemp, and that ball is just falling off the table. Great location. Down and away. It looks good to the hitter, especially with 2 strikes, trying to just foul it off. Well, to your point about being traded from the Dodgers, and as you've mentioned already before, just adding a Justin Upton and Matt Kemp has changed the ticket sales here at Petco Park.
Yeah, again,
the attendance has gone up.
The attendance has gone up, more than 3,600 people per game this year. But at the end of the year, the improvement in the standings, record-wise, is going to be potentially flat compared to 2014. Again, I think it just underscores how difficult it is to just insert names. And I applaud, again, I applaud A.J. Preller for all he did and all that he attempted to do. And unfortunately, it hasn't worked out from the Padres standpoint. But I don't know who didn't think they would be a whole lot better when you're adding names like Upton and Kemp and Myers to a team that was just awful offensively last year. And they're better offensively. Unfortunately, they haven't pitched the way they have typically in the past. And their fielding has been at times abysmal. A lot of elements that go into winning baseball. 2-2.
Let's see 4 strikeouts in a row.
Okay, right here.
You throw that same slider that you threw to Matt Kemp and it's over.
Well, Justin Upton's 4th in the National League in number of strikeouts. He's punched out 142 times. Chris Bryant may end up being the Rookie of the Year. He has 164. That leads the league. Then Ian Desmond and then another rookie, Jock Peterson. Swung on and missed. What'd you ask for?
Slider down and away?
Yeah, you got it. That's 4 straight strikeouts for Justin Miller. And we turn the page to inning number 8 with the Rockies ahead 6-4. Brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By Mike Shaw Subaru, always our lowest price and sales and service guaranteed. And by the Courtyard by Marriott, Western Elegance in the cultural heart of the city. That is a very nice hotel over there on Coronado.
Yeah.
Hotel del Coronado. 6-4, the Rockies leading. You've had some soirees there, haven't you, through the years?
Several soirees there.
Justin Morneau in the 8th inning against Mark Zepchinski. And the slider is low and in, ball 1.
His nickname with the Cardinals, where he started his career, actually started with Toronto, but when he really made his mark in the big leagues with the Cardinals, he won a World Series ring with them. They call him Scrabble.
That is perfect for a guy that's got a bunch of consonants pushed together and just a couple of vowels. Mark Zepchinski. 19th appearance for Scrabble.
He was acquired as a waiver trade deadline July 31st for Almonte. Let's see. Abraham Almonte. For some reason I had a different Almonte in my head. And Abraham's been playing quite a bit of center field for the Cleveland Indians.
2-2. RBI single in the first for Morneau. A couple of strikeouts since then. Rockies in the 8th inning of late on the plus side. Spilly have turned to Jairo Diaz. He's preparing to throw that 8th inning right now. It's Christian Adames. Pitcher's spot. Here's our CenturyLink link to what's next. Tomorrow, John Gray, 7th start. Colin Ray, that's how his last name is pronounced. He'll make his 6th start for the Padres, 2-2 with a 5.47 ERA. Back to night baseball tomorrow. And did
I think
Adames go? Yep,
anybody check swing is going to get it called right now.
Who was the best bench jockey you played with?
The guy that was going to yell at the
Yeah,
umpires
guy
and stuff?
but creative in how they would get after umpires or maybe the opposition. 0-1, 0-2 on Christian.
Ty Wigington was a pretty good one.
Is he good?
He was a good one. Of course, Renee Latchman's one of the best. Don Baylor. Surprisingly, as soft-spoken as Don is, if you ever meet him, wow. He can let some people have it.
Yeah, that probably would surprise some people. And Adames, an uncomfortable at bat as he strikes out on 3 pitches. Right now, it's an uncomfortable at bat for anybody because the ball's traveling through the shadows of one of the light towers. Explain how difficult that has to be.
It is difficult because normally, if you have the shadow and the shadow's on the pitching mound, it'll go from dark to light. Well, right now, the way that the lighting is, the mound is in the light, but then it's dark in the middle of the grass, and then it's back to light in the batter's box. So you got 3 light changes.
How do you pick up spin?
You don't. Not right now. I mean, that's not an excuse to strike out time after time, but 13 strikeouts now for the Rockies. This is not easy to see.
Let me ask you a trivia question here. See if you can come up with the answer. Here's the 1-0 in there for a strike on Descalso. 107 at bats. Greg Maddux against Tony Gwynn. How many times do you think Tony struck out?
At least 15 times.
None.
It's crazy.
How about that?
Your delivery is better than mine.
I wouldn't say that. I love that stat, though. This gets back to something we've often said, Spilly. Greg Maddux, tremendously overrated.
He was overrated. He didn't pitch with an undershirt on. It's gross.
1-2. Daniels 1 for 3. Checks. Well, you're right. I guess
I told you.
Yeah,
I told you
that one.
all day.
We'll watch it again. I didn't think he went. Third base umpire Mike Winters punches him out. That's 5 straight strikeouts for the Padres against the Rockies. The Rockies have struck out 14 times today. I don't know. Flip a coin. 6-4 Colorado. Take a look at our Jimmy John's delivery of the game. Well, when a pitcher who's been around a long time hits his first career home run, he gets honored. Kyle Kendrick, our Jimmy John's delivery of the game, and it's a big blow because we're talking about a 2-run game right now. Kendrick, a no-doubter to left. Rockies have made some changes, not only on the hill, but defensively. Jairo Diaz will take over in the 8th inning. It's become his role at least the last week or so. I'll show you the other changes in a moment. Slider is in there for a strike on Jed Jerko. Well, Barnes goes from right to left. Cargo comes in. What is a little concerning is Rafael Inoa moves to third base, which means that Nolan Arenado's dive, I'm guessing, into the stands. And that's, well, speaking of diving into the stands, Justin Morneau flips over that low rail. But I'm guessing that Nolan, I don't know if he's scraped up or sore for whatever reason, he has come out of the ball game. Here was Nolan in the 6th inning.
Well, he told Keith Duggar he's feeling okay on the field, but of course an inning or two later, may have felt different. And maybe after a check swing and moving out of the way, it might have hurt him as well.
Yeah, you know what? Jerko grounds it to Descalso, 1 out. Almost forgot about that because that was a weird deal.
Awkward.
It was awkward. So either it exacerbated something that occurred when he dove in the stands or created something new. Diaz gets the first out. 9th game for Jairo Diaz, a guy the Rockies have high hopes for. He was acquired for Josh Rutledge in the offseason from the Angels. Big arm, command, like so many guys with big arms, has been an issue. Derek Norris is 2 for 3. It seems every time he plays against the Rockies this year, he's got 2 hits, at least. Ball one.
Planning an event? Don't strike out. Get a dinger. Send an email to dinger@rockies.com or call 303-312-2266 for more information about having Dinger, the Rockies mascot, show up at your next special event. Which reminds me, my sister's about to have her first child. She's listening to this game, and I know Dinger is her favorite mascot. So maybe I can, as a present for having a baby, I'll send Dinger to her.
That perfect idea.
Great idea, right?
We'll have to pull a few strings. 1-1, hit in the air to deep center field. Charlie going back, still going back, and it's off the wall. He's going to need help out there from Barnes. And Brandon does a great job. Norris with his third hit, a double here in the 8th inning. He is a verifiable Rocky killer this year.
Well, you got to give credit when credit is due. Brandon Barnes moving from right field to left field. Look at how he's giving chase along with Charlie Blackmon. Blackmon plays it off the wall, isn't able to stop it, but Barnes being right there to back him up. It's those little things. Sometimes guys will stand and admire it sounded good off the bat. Is that a home run? Just stand in left field. If that kicks off the wall and Derek Norris is standing on third with one out, it's a totally different outing.
Derek Norris has hit .447 against the Rockies this year, 21 for 47. Spangenberg coming up. Boone Logan is coming in. 2-run lead for the Rockies, one out in the 8th. Afternoon. There's been plenty of traffic for the Padres. Corey Spangenberg with Derek Norris at second is coming up. Unless they pinch hit for him, and it looks like they will. Clint Barmes is going to pinch hit, so Boone Logan will see the former Rocky Barmes with one out.
And you can see Boone Logan in the 31 and the third innings that he's faced this year. 39 strikeouts, and Walt, of late, since he's come off the disabled list, he has used him primarily as a guy to face one batter. Earlier in this year, Boone Logan was facing a lot more. It was getting a full inning to himself. I think Walt, with the inflammation of his elbow, is seeing that for Boone right now, the best role for him is facing the one lefty.
We have the pitcher spot next, and Brett Wallace has been swinging the bat really well. He's in the on-deck circle. He is left-handed. So here's Barmes, and Barmy takes ball one. Here's Wallace. At one point, one of the most highly thought-of prospects in the game.
With the Houston Astros.
Been moved around a couple of times. 1-1. Outside. And that's foul. 2-2. Where would you go here? You know, right.
Don't go inside.
Right.
Don't go inside, Barnes.
No, I mean, he's always been dangerous in there. With a righty, he's always been vulnerable to slider away. But now you got a lefty, and obviously that's not what Boone's going to do. He throws a slider. It's coming into Barmes, but he has been a great inner half hitter his entire career.
I think you just keep the fastball away from him, and if you do want to throw the slider, you can throw it down and in, but you got to make sure it's down.
On the outside corner, a heater at 95. Boone flashing back to his younger days. It's one of the hardest pitches we've seen him throw. And he strikes out Clint Barmes. That was huge. 2 outs.
Well, sometimes you just rear back and you let it fly, and right there, Boone Logan, that is a well-located fastball on the outside part of the plate. We've already mentioned it's pretty tough to see. When you have a 95-mile-an-hour fastball coming out, sitting on the outside part of the plate, that is tough no matter what.
So Pat Murphy's going to play the Wallace card right here. The only other right-handed batter on his bench is Rocky Gale, a young player, 0-1. He's been a monster pinch hitting. 400 average, 3 home runs.
And he's hitting .316 against left-handed pitching. So the lefty-lefty matchup hasn't affected him too much.
0-1, a fastball swung on, foul tip, 0-2. And Boone is aware he's got the advantage, not only because of the count, but again, that shadow that is sitting from home plate out to right in front of the mound. It's about 45 feet now, a shadow. Got to be brutal to hit right now. 0-2. See you later. Great job, Boone Logan. Sweeping slider. He strikes out Barmes and Wallace. Norris is left at second. And it remains the Rockies 6 and the Padres 4. Off against Bud Norris, former starting pitcher with the Houston Astros.
And here's the numbers: 9 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts, 2 walks. He's only 1-1 with the 4.82 ERA. We saw him earlier in Colorado, and his fastball was sitting around 95 miles an hour. This was a guy with the Orioles they had a lot of high hopes for Bud Norris. Obviously, it didn't pan out quite the way he expected it to.
A couple changes behind Bud Norris. Clint Barmas is going to stay in the ball game naturally, and he'll play short. Spangenberg was pinch hit for, so Jed Jerko goes to the right side, a place he's more familiar. He's at second. Barnes takes ball 1. That's off the plate. Norris 2-9 with the Orioles with a 7+ ERA this year. There's the defensive changes. Curveball outside, 2-0.
You can see just watching from home that even the shadow, I mean, we talk about these things, and not to make excuses for hitters, but that is, as hard as it is to already hit, you're hitting a round ball with a round bat and you're supposed to hit it square, to use Ted Williams. It's not easy right now.
Curveball left up, and Barnes swung over the top of it. 2-2. Brandon 0 for 3 this afternoon. Rockies 3-9 against the Padres this year. 0-5 at Petco Park. Norris to Norris outside. Bud Norris on the mound. Derek Norris behind the plate. Long lost brothers. How many Spilborgs did you face in your career?
0. You know what? There's a lot of Brazilian Spilborgs. There's like a whole family of them in Brazil. For real. Yeah, it was on Facebook. 15 strikeout now for the Rockies today. It's 24 total on the game.
26 now. It's hard to keep up with them. The Rockies have struck out 6 consecutive times. And I attribute a lot of this both ways, again, to the shadows we're talking about. Dustin Garneau 0 for 3. Hurry up, get to the bottom of the 9th inning, and let John Axford have the luxury of pitching with the shadows.
That's a lot of strikeouts. I'm not good at counting.
You don't have to be. This is slowly hit towards second. Rafael Noah with 2 outs. In the 9th inning, the Padres will have Melvin Upton Jr., Will Myers, Yangervis Solarte. After that, it's Matt Kemp. Noah had a base hit in his first at bat. He came into the ball game in a double switch in the 6th inning for Kyle Parker. Switches to second. AB takes a strike.
I remember playing here a couple times when the shadows did creep up like this, and I had these sunglasses with the real orange lenses, and I would wear those, and I would rarely wear sunglasses, but this is the type of day that I would.
That's something to help you out in these situations. Fans, follow @RootsSports_RM on Twitter to receive alerts for the Rockies taco special when the Rockies hit that magic number of 7.
Of course he did.
Yeah, on the swing. There's no check swinging today. Another strikeout. So we'll go to the bottom of the 9th inning. 16 strikeouts for San Diego. Ties the season high. Here comes John Axford. Ballpark and wiffle ball field beyond center field. John Axford looking for 3 more outs. It'll be Melvin Upton Jr. first. Big John looking for save number 20. You know, we started out the broadcast today showing everybody in the hats before we boarded the plane last night for San Diego. And I thought John put together a nice little ensemble. He looked like Sherlock Holmes.
He did look like Sherlock Holmes.
Complete. He had the Sherlock Holmes look, complete with the pipe, which was empty naturally, folks, for anybody concerned. But it was a good look.
Yeah, it was awesome. An old style top hat that he bought at an old top hat store. He pulled it off really well.
And now he wants to pull off a 1-2-3 bottom of the 9th. Outside ball 1. Axford's had 20+ saves in 3 other seasons. 2010, 2011 he had 46, 2012 35. See, Charlie Blackmon and Sherlock Holmes last night.
And Charlie with the Indiana Jones reference for the Indiana Jones hat that he was wearing.
Guys had fun with it.
They did have a good time.
(2-0) waved at by Upton. He's now checking with Mike Molinsky. Did I swing at a strike?
Well, Melvin Upton's wearing the glasses I was just mentioning about having the orange colored lens so you can try to see the baseball. It brightens up the field.
On the corner.
So Nolan got a chest contusion, as it's being relayed to us over the speakers in the press box. He is awaiting x-rays.
And hopefully he didn't do anything to his rib cage. 2-2. Curveball, and it's a bouncer to second. Good hands. DJ LeMahieu, 1 out.
Well, that's a slow roller to DJ, and the way the hop got, he had a little in-between hop. Didn't get the big hop that he was hoping to get, but the way the ball was hit, he didn't have time to allow for the second hop. You can see the quick transfer. He knows Melvin Upton runs pretty well.
You know what? Did Pat Murphy's coming out? Did he just get tossed out by Malinsky?
For what?
Maybe Melvin got thrown out. What was he upset about? The strike call?
No, maybe catcher's interference. Thinking he swung and touched Garneau's glove.
Yelling at Malinsky.
Wonder if he didn't like the 2-strike call or the 2-0 pitch.
So he's ejected. Which may not be a very big deal at all with 1 out in the 9th inning. Hopefully it's not. Rockies want to put this one to bed. Will Myers coming up. Will's 1 for 3 and a walk. Axford misses there. The only thing I can imagine it had to do with
the 2-0 strike call.
The 2-0 strike call. Well, actually, he swung at the 2-0. The 2-1 strike call, yeah?
2-1 strike call.
Yeah, it had to be that. Myers swings and misses at a good curveball.
Here's the pitch in question, 2-1 strike. It's been a strike outside all day. And yes, I'm going to assume that that is the reaction based on the way his body language was. And then feeling in a 2-2 count, having to swing at a curveball that made you get out. That it was the 2-1 fastball that has been called a strike all day is the reason you were out. So here's the 2-2 pitch that he feels like he has to swing, which he should swing on a curveball outside right there.
2-1. And it's 2-2. And it's all set up for another hard curveball right over the top. Hard to pick up spin as Spilly was addressing the last really 4 innings. That's why we've seen a multitude of strikeouts.
It's getting a little bit easier only because now it's 2 lighting changes. It's light on the mound where John Axford is, and now the lighting, the shadow has covered the entire home plate. Before it was light, shadow, light.
One out, nobody on. 2-2. Curveball got him. 2 outs. And that is I mean, listen, in perfect conditions, that would be a nasty pitch to deal with.
Exactly. That's filthy to begin with. And lighting conditions or no lighting conditions, the ball falls off the table. That is a well-located curveball. That is a curveball that John has made a career out of, being able to save consecutive seasons with 20+.
Last hope for the Padres is Yangervis Solarte. 2 for 4 this afternoon. And Axford starts him out with a curveball. That's inside, ball 1. John has 6 straight scoreless appearances coming into this Labor Day affair. He had the hiccup there for a couple of weeks. Walt backed off him in the 9th inning, but he's returned to that spot and he's doing well. 2-0.
That was a pretty difficult 2 weeks. That was a run.
It's a big out right here because you have Kemp on deck. Clearly, if Kemp were to come up, the only way he can come up is if he represents the tying run. 2-run home run early in the game for Kemp. (3-0) on Solarte. That's there, 3-1. Would it be nice to have your get it over fastball be 96?
Just to be able to throw anything 96 would be sweet.
Agreed. 3-1 comebacker. John's got it. The lob to first. Ball game over. Rockies have won for the first time in San Diego this year, as the Rockies win on this Labor Day by a final score of 6-4. Well played game by the Rockies. Kyle Kendrick has his first victory since July 26th. He's 5-12. Ian Kennedy falls to 8-13, and it is save number 20.